Well, good evening, everyone. Can you all hear me? Can I have a couple of thumbs up? Yep, a few nods and thumbs up. Welcome to this this inaugural TransformHER event hosted by Opportunity International Australia. My name is Scott Walters. I'm the CEO of Opportunity, and it's my great pleasure to welcome you. We're thrilled to have you all here. Let me commence by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which we meet today. I know we're probably all on different lands. I'm actually up on the central coast of New South Wales in Darkinjung country. So I'd like to acknowledge the Darkinjung people and pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging. And I'd also like to acknowledge any Aboriginal Torres Strait Islander peoples on the call tonight. And we're expecting something like 117 participants. So it's really quite an overwhelming and encouraging first event. I'd particularly like to thank our key guest speaker, Peta Taylor from the Karuna Collective. Looking forward to hearing what you've got to share with us tonight, Peter. Also, Loralle Slater from RedZed, one of our great supporters, and Alana Phillips from Pro Purpose, who is in fact our speaker for the November event. So we're excited already in anticipation of what you'll have to share with us, Alana. At Opportunity International, we firmly believe that women can and do change the world for good. And many of us have seen it. I've certainly seen it firsthand in places like India and Indonesia amongst women living in poverty, and the transformational change that they can make for themselves, their families and their communities is nothing short of inspiring and encouraging. Importantly though, this event is for men and women, because all of us, men and women, believe in the power that women have to change the world for good. We've seen it happen and we know more needs to be done. So with that, I'm going to kick it over to our National Marketing Manager, Nicole Clements. Enjoy the evening and thank you so much again for attending. Thanks, Nicole.
Thank you so much, Scott. Well, I'm Nicole Clements, as Scott said, from Opportunity International, a former ABC journalist, and I get the enormous privilege of serving women and families experiencing poverty globally and telling their incredible stories of courage and change alongside my wonderful team. So we came up with the idea of for TransformHER, a 6-part series of 45-minute deep conversations. We'll try and keep to that tonight because we know we're all busy people and we're trying to juggle a few jobs at home as well. But we kept being inspired by the incredible network that we have. And I actually think Opportunity has one of the best networks I've ever seen in my whole career. And that includes working at the ABC. So we're linked. We want to be connected. We want you to connect with one another and we want to grow together, basically. And so we wondered what would happen if we created the ability for rich conversations and the chance to get together quite easily via Zoom. We will hopefully get together face to face at some point too, but we wanted to learn and grow from each other. So I think you're in for such a treat tonight. With that in mind, tonight is really about investing in you while supporting women and families experiencing poverty globally through Opportunity International Australia. So for those of you who might not know us, Opportunity International Australia is ending poverty in developing countries, one family, one community at a time. We have a very sustainable model. It recycles. By providing small loans and tools of microfinance and microenterprise, we help women and families to grow their own businesses and generate sustainable incomes. And once those loans are repaid and once that work is done, it keeps recycling over and over again, creating a new future for generations to come. Okay, so when they say that when great women and men who care about women's economic empowerment get together for good, that's when the magic happens. So we're hoping some magic happens tonight. So to kick us off, without further ado, we're incredibly lucky to have Peta Taylor from the Karuna Collective, who will share her insights and top tips about how remarkable women lead. Please mute yourself throughout, but feel free to ask questions in the chat. Peta and her team have been running an incredible women in leadership course, AmplifiHER, raising money for opportunity and our work. And I've done the course and I can't recommend it highly enough. So get on board. Welcome, Peta. Peta, let's start by telling us about yourself, your journey to becoming a female leader.
Oh, thanks so much for having me, and thank you for everyone who joined. I feel very privileged to be partnering with Opportunity International on this. I suppose a little bit about my story and who I am and what shaped me is that I was the eldest of three, second eldest of four, and middle child of six. So I had a kind of complicated childhood, but the gift of all of that was that I was raised by an amazing collective of women who I fondly refer to as the Norwegian Mafia. And that were my aunties and my grandma and my mother. And they taught me the strong values that I still hold today, which is around generosity of spirit, the donation of time is the greatest thing that you can give to someone, and that fairness and equality is most important. And from that kind of strong foundation, I embarked on world adventures. And so I basically spent my 20s and 30s working for 18 months and traveling for 6 to 12 months. And that was my life. And I felt incredibly privileged and kind of harnessed another value of mine, which is adventure. But I felt like it wasn't incredibly authentic, kind of going into these developing countries and experiencing their stories and communities, and then just leaving without having really created a lasting impact. And I really struggled with that concept. I thought, how could I do something different? And then in 2016, I had the privilege of having a year off work and went to Mexico and saw the RedZed Foundation, which is a microfinance foundation in Oaxaca. And I thought, this is it. I got it. Microfinance loans is the way of having a sustainable impact in communities that I have connected with through my travels. And so then that leads me into my weird and wonderful adventure of my career, where I basically just pursued careers where it didn't have a title. It was just a challenge. And so I was doing customer experience before that was a thing. I was in internal comms before that was a thing. Change management, strategic innovation, people experience. You just needed to put me at the heart of a major challenge with a whole heap of people and the underlying intent to treat them fairly, and I was there. And that led me ultimately into a career where I found Silver Chef, which is a hospitality finance company who has been a long-term partner of Opportunity International. And I thought, what a grand adventure this will be, because it gets to combine my travel and what I found through travel and my experience as an executive and truly be for profit and for purpose. And that really shaped how I showed up as a leader, because I thought you can do both. You can absolutely have heart and purpose, and you can drive commercial impact. We were a B Corp, and I truly understood then what it meant to stand up and in your power as a leader and care about both things. And so then when I finished that and started my business 5 years ago, which is called the Karuna Collective, I knew that my purpose was helping people create extraordinary experiences at work that were so developmental, that were so empowering, that were so uplifting, that when they went home to their family, friends, and communities, they were bigger, better humans as a result of having left them for the day. And that's what my driver is. And part of that then was, well, how can I create impact through my business and truly be a for profit and for purpose? And that's when I started AmplifiHER, which is taking all of the development work that I do with organizations around the world and packaging it up in a really affordable way for women to access, where 100% of the profits would go to microfinance loans. And I could continue having that impact, because just donating a percentage of profit wasn't enough for me. I needed to be generous in spirit. I needed to donate my time, and I needed to create equality and fairness and have a little adventure along the way. And so that's why I'm here today.
So wonderful, Peter. Why do you care about, being a woman of the world and women's economic empowerment so much? What sort of makes it resonate for you?
Because women are extraordinary. And if you look at families, you look at communities, and when you get the privilege to go out and see microfinance at work, you see communities completely shape-shifting. You see women standing up and in their power and with confidence, and you see change actually happen. And so I just think that sometimes we get in our own way. Sometimes society puts blockers in our way. But I think ultimately we're extraordinary, and if we can unlock that and support each other to unlock it, amazing things happen in the world.
And that would go for women in Australia as well, I imagine.
Everywhere.
Sustainable.
I think, I walk through the world and think, how can I make this person feel like they're extraordinary? And then I can go on and do extraordinary things in the world, whether that's the person serving me coffee, whether that's my friends at lunch. I don't care. Like, everyone has got it in them. And if I can just walk beside them as they experience that and feel that and find that for themselves, I feel like that brings meaning to my life.
So beautiful. In a minute, we're going to deep dive more into women in leadership in a mini masterclass with Peta. But I wanted to ask you, Peta, this actually, given there's so much division in the world today, and huge issues linked to inequality, and sometimes division between men and women as well. How can women and men leaders really truly complement each other when it comes to leadership, so that we can create a better world together?
Done a lot of work with teams and in different organizations, and I myself was the only female executive in a team full of men, and so I know what it feels like to be quite alone and on my own, and representing 50% of the population as one human. I thought that was a huge responsibility. But ultimately, what I've learned through all of my work is that if you can look at why you are connected and really ground yourself in your purpose as a team and as a group, and connect from that place. It's not from a place of gender. It's not from a place of sameness. It's not from a place of comfort, but it's actually what is the enduring why of why we meet, why we gather, why we're here, and then celebrate the difference. Celebrate the different strengths that you bring to solving that problem, achieving that intent, creating that impact. Then I think you kind of do away with the noise and you get really focused on the things that matter.
Beautiful. Okay, so Peta, this Saturday night you're having a fantastic soiree. You've got to invite 5 incredible female leaders. They can be from anywhere in the globe. Who's coming, and maybe what's being served for dinner?
So this has been really challenging because I've got some friends on the call and they would always be invited, but maybe they could help me cook, because the people that I would invite to my table, one would be Audette Excel. And she is an amazing woman in Australia. She's got an OAM. She's the one who taught me about what it means to have the privilege of choice. And she has convinced a whole heap of investment bankers to donate their time for free. And 100% of all of the revenue generated goes to work in Uganda and Nepal. She's incredible. She's on the board of Westpac. And was on the board of Suncorp, which is where I met her. So she'd be on there. My grandma would be on there. I'd do anything to have one more dinner with her. And I think she's really informed who I am and how I show up in the world. And she'd hold me accountable to good questions over dinner and good table manners. There's Ruth Bader Ginsburg would always be there. I would like to hear how she fronted into creating difference unapologetically, and how she rallied the support around her. I would love to see, there's a woman that holds a piece of my heart who was in Colombia. I call her Penguino Mama, and she was one of the microfinance recipients that I experienced, and her daughter made these little penguins, stuffed penguins, and I still have one hanging on my tree. And so Penguino Mama would be there. And finally, I think I would invite Simone Biles, because I think what she's done through her career is extraordinary, and how she's shown up into adversity and championed herself and her own mental health, and then achieved amazing things. She'd be there too.
So wonderful. And maybe you might think about, if you're listening, and you might think about who are the female leaders in your own life that you really cherish and would sort of really like to know more about. So I'll leave that as homework for everyone. So now we're going to do a deep dive, and if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat, or you can put your list of people that are coming to your dinner party. But over to you, Peta, for a mini masterclass in women in leadership.
Okay, so this is a mini masterclass. This brings together some of the top 4. I was like, what am I going to do? And I think it's the top 4 learnings of the work that I do with all executive and senior leaders around the world, so men and women. But these are the things that I see that when people really do the work, it really unlocks their fullest potential and greatest impact. So number 1 is I deeply believe that your greatest potential is unlocked when you understand your own purpose. And that can seem really big, and that can seem like a deep adventure to go on. But why do you do what you do, and why does it matter? And what I do, so I'll take you through a little technique that I use, and maybe it could be useful for you. But essentially, when I try and help people find the essence of them, I say to them, right, we're going to go back in time. Take me back to the playground. You're about 6 or 7, and we're observing you with all of your friends around you. Tell me about the child in front of you. What makes them different? What makes them unique? What makes them stand out? How would you describe them? What are they doing? Are they a creator? Are they a problem solver? Are they a challenger? Are they a rebel? Are they someone who's kind? Are they a connector? Are they a communicator? What is it that is their purest essence? And what makes them different from anyone else in the playground? Now, the thing about finding your purpose is finding your verb. It's the verb that gives you energy. It's not your cause. A lot of people think, oh, I find my purpose, it is about microfinance loans, or it's about saving the ocean. That's a cause. Your actual purpose is the verb. That's how you do it. It makes you unique, and it's unique to you. And the reason I cast people back to 6 or 7 is because that is a time before shame really takes over. It is actually your purest, most authentic expression of you. And it's before comparison shame gets in the way. And usually all of the coaching work I do with the executives is to try and get them back to reconnect with that person. So going and exploring that, for me, I was the kind kid. The first award I ever got was around being kind. And I was the kid that would find the other kids that didn't have friends or someone to sit with at lunch, or felt like they were being excluded, and I would pull them in and I would include them. And to this day, that is what I love to do. I love to find the people who don't, or have stopped believing in themselves, or something's gotten in the way, and show them again how special they are, how extraordinary they are, and that they can go and do those extraordinary things with my support. So finding and knowing your purpose is so grounding and motivating as a leader. The second thing I find is that people have started to pursue sameness. We work in institutions and organizations and in societies that love sameness and comparison. We're going to rate you, grade you, score you, there's success measures, and it's very same. And what I actually think is most powerful is when you start to connect to what is your unique combination of strengths and own it unapologetically. You know your I ams and you know your I am nots, and it's really clear. And then you surround yourself with the people that allow you to be in your I ams, and they complement you because they do the things that you are not. And you don't pursue generic okayness. Yeah, you pursue absolute extraordinary uniqueness around your combination of strengths. And one of the things, there's strengths assessments online that you can do if you're curious. I love Gallup's strengths, and there's others, and we can share those with you. But the other thing that's really simple is I call it the joy line. And over 2 weeks, just put a line in between, across the middle of the page, and that's your joy line. And then have self-reflection every day about what am I doing and how much joy is it generating. You don't have to be a master at it. You don't have to be amazing, but does it generate joy and energy? And in the relationship to the line, you map it out. You also map out what depletes you of joy, what depletes you of energy. And you go, okay, I can be really good at it, but it depletes me of energy, which means I'm not probably using my strengths. I'm using learned behaviors. You start to map out and you go, ultimately, you want to be living above the joy line. And you want to surround yourself with people whose joy line is the stuff that sits below your joy line. And that's the ultimate goal. And that's how you create great teams around you, great communities, great friendship groups even. The third big thing that I see that people who really unlock their fullest potential and have the greatest impact in the world, they're the ones that have rumbled with their inner critic. So I think most people, men and women, have an inner critic of some description. Mine's Olympic standard. It's been trained really well over the 42 years that I've been alive. well-fed, very muscular, and very loud. Sometimes sounds like very familiar people in my life. However, what I really realized when I did the work around my inner critic is, unfortunately, it never goes away. Everyone wants your inner critic to go away. It doesn't. It's there because it serves you, it has kept you safe, and it probably has kept you very successful. What it is about redefining your relationship with that inner critic, renaming it. Some people call theirs Sue, Amanda, Bruce, James. I call mine my fear coach, and I name it for exactly what it is. It's my fear coach. It shows up and it gets incredibly loud when I'm scared. I'm scared of connection. I'm scared of success. I'm scared of failure. I'm scared of achieving, whatever it may be, but it flares up and I'm like, okay, I'm scared. Thank you. But keeping me safe is not keeping me away from fear. It's just flagging that there's a fear, and then I'm going to work through it because I want to unlock it. I want to unlock that potential. And so redefining your relationship with whatever you end up calling your inner critic, to know that they can ride in the car with you, but they're in the back seat. They don't have the steering wheel. Yeah? And know that it will never go away, but it will be a redefined relationship that serves you in a different way. And that will help you create the impact that you're born to make. And then the final thing, and I think it's most important for anyone on this call, male, female, is that those that really unlock their fullest potential and have the greatest impact in the world have surrounded themselves with a power pack. That's what I call it. But a group of people who know you, who appreciate you, and who sponsor you. They champion you, they challenge you, and they're honest with you. From a work context, they may be in rooms talking about opportunities and talking about potential that you're not even aware of. But they know what you care about, what your purpose is, what your strengths are, and who you're becoming and where you're going, and they champion you. But likewise, your friends, your family, the community you put around you, who is your power pack? Be very deliberate about who that is and broker it with them about what you need, what you want, how they can help, and ask for it, ask for their help. And by surrounding yourself with those people, you're probably 1 or 2 conversations away from getting anything that you need to support you in pursuing the impact you want to create. So I hope, like I've just done like a major download on probably years long of programs, but I hope those things kind of get you thinking, and you can take walks with yourself and contemplate them. I don't know how we're going with time, Nicole, and whether if there's any questions in the chat or anyone has a question, pop it in the chat. We might have time for 1 or 2.
If anyone has any questions, I have a question actually for you, Peter, just in terms of, any good resources, or I know that you've mentioned a couple of books to me and that I was interested in that just may help or be helpful in this journey. And also if what you said today also applies to men and women.
This absolutely applies for everyone. I hope everyone's found the thing they were meant to find by showing up on this call. This is work that I do in most of my programs, and it's gender agnostic. I think it's just a human experience. When it comes to tools, one of the greatest unlock books that I've read, and I shared this with the AmplifiHERs today, is that The Gifts of Imperfection. It's Brene Brown's first book. It's about 10 years old now. She re-released it last year with a podcast that walked through every chapter. So I recommend, if you're going to do it, go deep and do it with the podcast. But for me, when I was working with that book, the unlock for me was the line, why do you speak to yourself in ways you would never say out loud to someone else? And that sent me on quite the adventure around my inner critic. But there are so many unlocks there for anyone who struggles with perfection, shame, resilience, inner critic, pursuit of difference. You'll find something in that book that you're meant to find.
Beautiful, Peter. There's a question in the chat from Kate. Peter, what do you do when you get discouraged or disheartened when what you're trying to achieve really just isn't working?
Yeah, I think that if everything was perfect and you're walking through life and felt perfection, you wouldn't be growing. And so I love and invite tension. I think that every moment of a falter, I call it falters versus fails. Every falter is that opportunity to go, what am I learning? Why is there tension? And I also think it's a bit of a universal nudge to just try something different. The other thing is, and my friends will attest who are on the call, is I reach out. In those times where it feels like I just want to contain, I reach out and I get an honest, usually quite provocative piece of feedback that keeps me real and in check. So yeah, that power pack's really important.
Yeah, wonderful. Peta, finally in closing, what are your closing practical tips for women and leadership? And have you got any homework for us?
Okay, so I think we'll send out a couple of the tools that I mentioned tonight. So they are really reflective processes. So it will take some time, and just know that it's not like the engraver's not coming. It's not set in stone. It's actually something that you continue to evolve with. And I think the practical tool is just start. Perfection doesn't exist. And so get the people around you that you know complement you. Start designing your life to play to your strengths, and find your why, because it's enduring. It's the motivating force. And so when things just feel like they're frictious and not working, that verb, that why, is the thing that kind of keeps you going. So.
Another question from Erin. Peta, what is your verb?
Thanks, Erin. Erin's one of my very good friends. So I would like to say that it is help. Like, I think it is help. Like, I love to help people, to serve people, and to connect with people. So generally they wavers around one of those. And Erin, you can keep me accountable to that, I'm sure.
So beautiful. Thank you so much, Peta, for your generous sharing today. And as Peta said, we're going to share some tools and post this meeting, really share that. And so, and as I said, you can join her AmplifiHER course. I'd say it's a fantastic investment in yourself and in others. And someone who's done that is the lovely Loralle Slater, for Chief Sales and Marketing Officer at RedZed. So, Loralle, we're going to speak to you now. So you're one of the founders of RedZed, an amazing opportunity partner. You're responsible for brand marketing, sales and customer experience. First of all, can you give us a short intro into who RedZed is as a company?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Nicole. So just actually, first, before I get into that, I just really want to thank the Opportunity International team and the work that they do. Like, it's an amazing opportunity you give a lot of women around the world, and I'm extremely proud to be both a personal and a corporate donor to this amazing organisation. So thank you so much for all of your hard work that you do. RedZed Lending Solutions is a mortgage lender for the self-employed. So a team of us started the organisation nearly 18 years ago. I know I don't look old enough to have started something 18 years ago. And it was really founded to enable self-employed people to have the opportunity to grow wealth. We understand that they weren't really well serviced by traditional lenders. And so we created a non-bank lender to give those self-employed people that opportunity that a lot of their employees have, that they as self-employed people don't have. So it's been an amazing thing to build something from the ground up, to work with an amazing group of people and teams over the years to build a really successful organisation.
And Loralle, why is this topic, women in leadership, something that's close to your heart?
Yeah, I think, I love leadership. I've been in an executive leadership role for sort of the last 25 years. I think for me, once I understood that leadership can just be an extension of your personal values, I really started to love the role I could do in supporting people. I think to be that sort of authentic leader, you need to trust and rely on your own beliefs and values. And for me, that is about respecting and valuing people. So it was really interesting what Peta said, thinking about what is your verb. Mine is very similar. Mine is about caring, like just wanting to be there and support. And I get the the most benefit out of seeing someone succeed, be that our customer base with a self-employed person, giving them the opportunity they wouldn't have, and particularly my team, seeing them grow and develop and even move on potentially outside the organisation. But just the role that I get to play with those people is a real privilege, I think. And so for me, the things I've learned along that way are just that you really need to know the people that work for you. So it is really important that you understand their interests, you understand what motivates them, and what is their own individual purpose, and how does that purpose align with the organisation that they're working in. So it's critical that you can match their purpose to the organisation's purpose, and even in a corporate sense, there is always a purpose about what you do. And we need to let people know that you manage, that they're important and that they matter, that they play a key role in the success to the success of your business or organisation that you're in. I suppose I'm not really telling anyone anything they don't already know, but, surprise, surprise, work is really only one aspect of someone's life. So, everyone has a life outside of work. And I think to be a successful leader, you need to get the full picture of that person. So people come to work with different things that are happening in their life, and you really need to understand those situations. So it's better to, are they caring for a family member? Are they ill themselves? Have they got tricky kid situations as our children go through different parts of their life journey? As mothers and as fathers, we often are needed to be more or less involved in those. So I think you need to actually look at that person holistically.
And what do you think the key is to a successful leadership journey?
Yeah, I think it's that understanding those people. I think I want to share sort of one really easy, tangible way to do that. And this is not rocket science, and everyone would have heard about this before, but I think it is about having regular one-on-ones with your team. So that sounds really basic. My experience is not many leaders do that very well. And because the detail is in the execution of those meetings. So you need to set a time, you need to set a rhythm, and it should not move. So the message you're sending someone in your team when you've set up a one-on-one with them and you continually to move that or cancel it or delay it is that they're not important. So I'm pretty religious in making sure that I have either weekly or fortnightly, depending on the person I'm leading, minimum fortnightly, hourly one-on-ones with my team, and it takes a lot for me to have to move that meeting because the message I'm sending is that you don't matter, and I want to give that team member my undivided attention for an hour, and they're an hour meeting, and we cover a lot in an hour meeting, but it is really sending a really clear message to someone. And I think the other thing is really important in those meetings is I always set up with how are you going. So it's a personal element first. So how's it going? What's going on for you? As you go over time, you build that trust with people that they can share with you. Actually, home's a nightmare. Okay, great. So that one-on-one might just be a conversation about what's happening with your teenage son at school that week, right? And that's totally fine because you're building a relationship and you're building trust. You really need to show an interest in their well-being. And sometimes they can't be there for you. So sometimes there is that element where you say, actually, this week is not great. Okay, what do we need to do to get through it? So my first part of the conversation depends on the person, depends on the relationship. That can be half of the hour meeting, or it can be 10 or 15 minutes if everything's great. And then the second aspect of that meeting really should be a discussion on how they're progressing towards your agreed deliverables. So clear KPIs, understanding sort of what are your top 5 things you're going to do for that quarter. How are you making progress? Do you need help? Is there roadblocks that I can help you to remove? What can I do to help us collectively be successful in you delivering those results? I always end these meetings on, okay, what else do you need from me? So being there available, asking them, right, what can I do to make sure that you are successful? And most of the time, my team member will then turn around and say to me, and is there anything I can do for you? So when you've built that relationship, and I'll be like, actually, funny you should ask, there are 5 things on my to-do list. Could you take a couple of them if you've got capacity this week? So, you can actually end up having some of those great conversations. I think the thing I've really learned about a leadership role and the role you play with a team member is it's just like any other form of relationship that you have, that you really need to work on it. You need to invest time and you need to be present for it to be successful. That's no different than any other relationship you have, either personal, friendship, partnership, husband, wife. You need to build trust. You need to support each other. You need to set expectations. This is what I need from you and this is what you're going to get from me. And then most importantly is celebrating the success when you get there.
So lovely. Thank you so much, Loralle. Just a quick couple of questions. So I'm conscious as well that not everyone's leading a team. How do you think we can be leaders in our own lives? Any thoughts?
Well, for me, that's taking initiative. So, setting personal goals, get into and we do quarterly goal setting at work. I often like to do quarterly goal setting in my personal life as well. So what is it that I want to achieve? What is it that I'm going to actually make a difference, or how am I going to help someone in this quarter? And I think that's the way that you can break that stuff down into manageable things and see you achieve stuff through your life.
Does it have an ROI, do you think, all of this sort of stuff?
For me, the investment in people definitely has a return for the organisation. We've all been involved in recruiting people. We've all been involved in performance management issues. There's a lot of that time and energy and cost in churning people through an organisation. But also for me in particular, in the current space in RedZed, we're a service provider. We don't make anything. We don't have widgets. We literally just have people. And particularly with my sales team, they build strong relationships with their customers. So actually investing in a salesperson and in a role that they're going to play, there is a thing about happy employees build happy customers. So if someone is aligned in purpose, feel like they're valued and worth, feel like they're achieving stuff and being recognised for that success, that definitely flows on to their retention and they're wanting to share that with their customer base.
Just a quick question in the chat. What do you say to a team member if they're the one that wants to reschedule the one-on-one?
Well, yeah. I mean, it depends on and we reschedule them. Sometimes I can be the only one that can't come to an executive meeting, so I move it. So you can reschedule, but you need to rebook it, and it needs to happen within a short time frame. Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
And so, who's coming for dinner at your house?
Yeah, and it was great to hear who Peter's coming for dinner. I suppose I'm really passionate about pioneers, sort of trailblazers. I feel like I've done that a lot in my life, and I really admire women and men, but particularly women that have that strength and resilience to sort of break new ground. And I'd love to prick their brains as to how they've done that. Someone I'm totally passionate about is Dr. Jane Goodall. I love animals. I'm obsessed with nature, and I find that's a really calming influence for me. But someone like Dr. Jane Goodall, who travelled to Africa in the 1960s, women were not accepted in the field of the work that she was doing, and really challenged the establishment about how they viewed the role chimpanzees and chimpanzees communities. So just continued to go, and then has gone on now to be an amazing environmentalist and support of rural communities. So Dr. Jane Goodall is someone I've met her once at a conference and would love to have her for dinner. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, which Peter suggested too, and I just think she's just such a trailblazer, and her work around fighting for gender discrimination is just amazing. Linda Jean Burnley, so the first Indigenous woman to be elected to federal politics. I think it's really amazing that someone was so keen to make sure that their people were represented in and a seat at the table and a place where those decisions are made. And I understand she's had a tough time in getting there, and I really would love to just work out how she managed to do that. And Emily Pankhurst, just the leader of the suffragettes, like what those women did in the UK, purely the belief about that women should have the right to have a vote, and the horrors that they went through to get that are extraordinary. And not to get political, but I'd love to chat to Julia Gillard. I just think, you know, her rise to be, you know, an amazing feat to become the sort of first female Australian Prime Minister. So yeah, it would be a really interesting dinner conversation, I think, with some really powerful women at the table.
Thank you so much, Loralle. So wonderful to hear your insights, and thanks everyone for listening. We're drawing to a close, but just in closing, we're going to play a video. If for some reason that doesn't work, I'm going to put the link in the chat.
Opportunity is connecting to what is possible.
Opportunity for me is one of the greatest gifts that you can give someone.
It's giving trust to a woman who may present to have no assets, but she has a deep investment in herself thriving and her family thriving, and that little seed of trust, you can unlock that.
So I think so many businesses have a story that's similar, where someone believed in them and it gave them the opportunity to create the business that they now have today.
What inspires me is the ability to make a difference here. The ability to provide opportunities to the marginalized who are in abject poverty.
I think that if we walk through the world thinking about how can we create opportunities for others, life is full, life is joyful, and life has a huge amount of meaning. An opportunity, whatever it is, I think that is the greatest gift that we can give someone else.
Well, thank you for watching that video, and thank you for joining tonight. We had Apida as well in the video, and she's online with us. She works in our opportunity operations in India at Vicus. Thank you, Apida, for joining tonight. As we said, tonight's been about investing in you and sparking some good conversations, rich conversations. Next time, bring your friends and others along. We'd love to have you. The next event on November the 20th is with Alana Nichols from ProPurpose. You saw her in the video. You won't want to miss it. She's another amazing opportunity supporter and advocate for startup loans. She's phenomenal. Alana will give a mini masterclass about how you can connect your purpose to business, and it will be fantastic, I can assure you. Put it in your diaries, November the 20th, 7 p.m. And as we said earlier, opportunity is really about change and impact. And if you felt moved tonight in any way, we'd love you to continue your journey with us, join the 6-part series, and also, sign up for more information on our website. As the head of communications and marketing, it would be remiss to not offer you the opportunity to donate differently. So tonight, you're also very welcome to donate, and we'd love to have it. We do have a great target of helping 1,000 women and families in the lead up to the International Day of the Girl Child on October the 11th. And you can go to our website. But for now, that's it. It's a wrap. And thank you so much for coming. It has been an enormous honour. Thank you so much. Go well.